Life along the Silk Road. A chronicle for deep sleep. This is a slow chronicle for rest. A gentle telling of life along the Silk Road. Spoken softly for deep and uninterrupted sleep, wherever you are in the world right now, and whatever time it happens to be for you. There is nothing you need to do and nothing you need to stay awake for. Simply allow this quiet chronicle to continue as the night carries you gently toward rest. In the early morning, before the sun has fully risen over the desert, a caravan begins to stir. The camels shift their weight from one leg to another. Their breath comes out in soft clouds that hang briefly in the cool air before dissolving. A man moves between them, checking the ropes that hold. Bundles of silk wrapped in oiled leather. His hands work slowly, methodically. He has done this many times before. The leather is smooth under his fingers, worn soft by years of handling and weather. Another man emerges from a low tent, rolling his shoulders to shake off the stiffness of sleep. He walks to where the cooking fire smoldered through the night. A few embers still glow beneath the ash. He adds a handful of dried camel dung, then some twigs, blowing gently until a small flame appears. The smoke rises straight up in the still air. There is no wind yet. That will come later. When? The sun climbs higher. The settlement behind them is still mostly quiet. A few lights show in windows where families are, beginning their day. This is a waystation, a place where travelers rest between the longer stretches of desert. The buildings are made of mud brick, their walls thick to keep out the heat of day and the cold of night. In the courtyard, a fountain trickles softly. The sound is steady, almost rhythmic. It has been flowing for decades, fed by an underground channel that brings water from the mountains. Makes a low, rumbling sound deep in its chest, but does not move. These animals are patient. They can carry heavy loads for many days, requiring little water, walking at a pace that never changes. Whether the ground beneath them is hard-packed earth or loose sand. As the light grows, more members of the caravan emerge. A woman wraps a long scarf around her head, tucking the ends carefully so no sand can find its way in later. She carries a leather bag to the fountain, filling it slowly, letting the water overflow a little before she caps it. She drinks from her cupped hand, the water cold and clean. Then she returns to where her family has been sleeping, stepping quietly so as not to wake the children who are still curled under blankets. The fire has grown now. A copper pot is placed over it, filled with water and a handful of tea leaves. The scent begins to spread through the camp. Someone adds a piece of hard cheese to a wooden board, slicing it thin with a small knife. There is flatbread, too, left from the night before. It has gone. A little stale, but when held near the fire, it softens, and the smell of grain fills the air. The caravan leader stands apart from the others, looking east where the sun is beginning to color the horizon. He is an older man, his face deeply lined from years of squinting into bright light and blowing sand. He knows this route as well as he knows the rooms of his own home, which he has not seen in 4 months. He knows where the good wells are, where the ground is firm enough for fast travel, where bandits sometimes wait in the narrow passes between hills. He knows which officials can be trusted, which ones expect payment before allowing passage. The day's travel will not be difficult. They will follow a well-worn track toward another waystation, arriving before the worst heat of afternoon. But even an easy day requires preparation. The loads must be balanced perfectly, or the camels will develop sores. The waterskins must be checked for leaks. Each person must know their place in the line of travelers. Slowly, the caravan takes shape. The camels are brought to standing, grunting their complaints. The bundles are lifted and secured. Children are settled onto the backs of the gentler animals, there, small hands gripping the wooden frames of the saddles. The woman with the scarf ties a cloth across her face, leaving only her eyes visible. Others do the same. The sun is above the horizon now, and already the air is beginning to warm, carries across the empty land. It is a peaceful sound, almost musical. The bells are not just for beauty. They help keep the caravan together when dust makes it hard to see more than a few. Animals ahead. They warn other travelers of their approach. They mark the passage of people through a landscape that might otherwise seem empty of all human presence. The track they follow is ancient. Countless feet have worn it smooth over the centuries. In some places, the earth has been compressed so thoroughly that nothing grows there anymore. In other places, hardy grasses cling to the edges, their roots finding moisture somewhere deep below the surface. Small lizards dart away as the camels pass, disappearing into cracks between stones. The rhythm of walking is steady. The caravan moves at perhaps 3 miles in an hour. There is no rushing. The camels set the pace, their long legs swinging forward in a gentle rolling motion. The people walk alongside or sit swaying on the animals' backs. Some talk quietly among themselves. Others are silent, lost in their own thoughts or simply watching the land unfold around them. By mid-morning, the sun has grown strong. The air shimmers above the ground in the distance, creating illusions of water that vanish as they approach. The sky is a pale, washed-out blue, empty of clouds. Heat presses down from above and rises from below. The travelers have wrapped themselves in layers of cloth that create small pockets of shade against their skin. They pass the ruins of an older waystation, its walls partially collapsed. No one has lived there in many years. Sand has drifted against the remaining walls, smoothing the corners. A single tree grows in what must have been the courtyard, its branches twisted by wind. The caravan does not stop. They have seen many such ruins. The Silk Road is lined with the remnants of places that once thrived when trade flowed differently, when different rulers held power, when water sources had not yet dried up or shifted course. The caravan leader raises his hand, signaling a brief rest. the line of camels comes to a halt. People slide down from their seats, stretching their legs. Someone produces dried apricots from a leather pouch, passing them around. The fruit is leathery and intensely sweet. A few people walk a short distance from the group for privacy. The camels stand perfectly still, their eyes half closed against the brightness. Undulations, the beginning of hills that will eventually rise into mountains. Small stones become larger rocks. The vegetation, sparse as it is, shifts slightly. Different types of scrub bushes appear, their leaves tiny and coated with a waxy substance that helps them retain moisture. In the afternoon, they see another caravan in the distance, moving in the opposite direction. Both groups alter their paths slightly to pass each other at a wide clearing where there is room. As they draw closer, the leaders exchange greetings. They share news. The westbound caravan reports that a bridge has been damaged in the next province, requiring a detour. They describe which route they took instead. The eastbound leader nods, committing this information to memory. They discuss the price of horses in a city 3 weeks behind them. They mention which caravanserai has the most comfortable rooms, which merchant is paying well for jade. The two groups do not linger together long. Each has their own schedule to keep. But the meeting is significant. Information flows along the Silk Road as surely as goods do. A merchant in Chang'an might make decisions based on knowledge that traveled westward person by person, caravan by caravan across thousands of miles. As the sun begins its descent, the Waystation comes into view. It is larger than the one they left at. Morning. Smoke rises from several chimneys. There are workshops attached to the main buildings, where metal workers and carpenters serve the needs of passing travelers. A corral holds horses and camels belonging to other caravans. The sound of hammering carries across the distance, sharp and rhythmic. The caravan enters through a wide gate. Inside, there is the organized chaos of arrival. Camels are led to the corral. Bundles are unloaded and carried to secure storage rooms. Money changes hands as fees are paid to the waystation keeper. People scatter to their evening tasks. Some head immediately to the bathhouse, eager to wash away the dust. Others go to inspect the goods in the small market that operates in one corner of the courtyard. The woman who filled her water bag that morning finds a spot near the kitchen building. She spreads out a mat and begins to sort through her family's belongings, shaking out blankets, checking what food supplies remain. Her children appear, hungry and tired. She gives them each a piece of dried meat to chew on while the evening meal is being prepared. A man from Samarkand describes the carpets he is carrying, praising their tight weave, their rich colors. A merchant from further east examines them carefully, running his hands over the wool, testing the strength of the dyes by pulling at individual threads. They will negotiate for hours, perhaps drinking tea, sharing a meal, building the relationship that must exist before a price can. Be settled. In one of the workshops, a wheelwright repairs a damaged cart. He has been working on it for 3 days. The wood must be shaped precisely. The iron rim must be heated and fitted exactly. He works, slowly, testing each joint before moving to the next. His apprentice watches, learning by observation. The boy is perhaps 12 years old, his hands already beginning to show the calluses of his trade. As darkness falls, lamps are lit throughout the Waystation. The courtyard transforms into pools of warm light separated by deep shadows. The fountain continues its quiet trickling. Someone begins to play a stringed instrument, the notes floating across the space. The melody is unfamiliar to many. Of those present, learned in a city far to the west, carried here in the musician's memory. The evening meal is simple. There is mutton stewed with onions and dried fruit. There is rice, each, grain separate and fluffy. There is yogurt, tangy and thick. Bread is broken and shared. People eat, sitting on carpets spread on the ground, their legs crossed, their bowls balanced on their knees. Conversation flows around the courtyard in multiple languages. Merchants who travel regularly know enough words in several tongues to conduct business. Others rely on translators, on hand gestures, on the shared understanding that develops among those who face similar challenges. After the meal, the caravan leader walks the perimeter of the Waystation. This is his habit. He checks on the animals one more time. He speaks briefly with the night watchman, confirming the arrangements for guards. Caravans are vulnerable at night. The goods they carry are valuable. The Waystation offers protection, but vigilance is still required. In a small room off the main hall, a Buddhist monk sits in meditation. He has been traveling for 2 years, making his way slowly toward India, following in the footsteps of other monks who made this journey centuries before. His possessions are few. He carries sacred texts wrapped carefully in silk translations he has made of sutras. In each place he stops, he teaches if there are those who, and spiritual practice that stretches across the entire length of the Silk Road. The night deepens. Most of the travelers have retired to their rooms or to the communal sleeping areas. The courtyard is quiet now, except for the fountain and the occasional snort of a camel from the corral. The stars are brilliant, uncounted points of light in the vast darkness. The Milky Way stretches overhead like a river of luminescence. For those who sleep outside under these stars, the night is cold. They burrow into their blankets, seeking warmth. In the morning, some of the caravan will continue onward. Others will remain here for several days, conducting business, making repairs, allowing their animals to rest and feed on better fodder than the desert provides. The rhythm of the Silk Road is like this. It is movement punctuated by stillness. It is commerce mixed with conversation. It is the practical matter of transporting goods, combined with the exchange of ideas, techniques, stories, beliefs. A young woman in the Waystation is a weaver. Her family has run this business for 3 generations. She works at a large loom in a building behind the main hall. The loom dominates the room, its wooden frame worn smooth by decades of use. Threads stretch from top to bottom, already showing the beginning of a pattern. She sits on a bench before it, her feet working pedals that lift certain threads while her hands pass the shuttle back and forth. The motion is practiced, almost automatic. She can maintain the rhythm while thinking of other things or while talking with her sister who sits nearby, spinning wool. They speak of the travelers who have passed through recently. A merchant from Kashgar brought glass beads unlike any they had seen before, each one containing swirls of color that seemed to move in the light. Another traveler carried books bound in leather, stamped with unfamiliar symbols. A group of performers arrived 3 days ago, acrobats who could balance on the thinnest of poles, who could juggle flaming torches while walking on their hands. The Waystation becomes a crossroads, not just of goods, but of wonders, of things the sisters might never see if they left this place, but which come to them carried by the endless stream of travelers. The silk the young woman weaves will likely travel westward. It will be purchased by a merchant, packed carefully, transported for months. It might end up in a market in Baghdad or Constantinople, far beyond her imagining. Someone there will buy it, perhaps a wealthy family. Packed earth floor and its shaft of sunlight falling through the high window. This is the nature of the Silk Road. It connects people who will never meet. The hands of a weaver. In one place touch, through the medium of fabric. The hands of a tailor in another place who will cut and sew that fabric, which will then touch the skin of someone in yet another place. Each person is a link in a chain that stretches across the known world. Months from now, a different caravan will arrive at this same Waystation. The seasons will have changed. Perhaps it will be winter, with cold winds blowing down from the mountains, with snow dusting the ground each morning. The fountain will still run, kept from freezing by the constant movement of water. The same workshops will be open, though the craftsmen will work wrapped in layers of felt and wool. The rhythm will be slower. Fewer caravans travel in the harsh months. But they do not stop entirely. There are goods that must move regardless of season, merchants with contracts to fulfill, pilgrims whose journeys cannot wait for better weather. Or perhaps it will be spring when that future caravan arrives. The desert will briefly bloom. Small flowers will appear overnight, taking advantage of occasional rains. The air will smell of dust and pollen. Birds will pass overhead in formation, migrating to summer grounds, the waystations. Garden will show green shoots. Vegetables will be growing in neat rows tended by the keeper's family. Fresh food will be available for the first time in months, a luxury after the preserved and dried foods of winter. But tonight, in this particular moment, it is simply another evening along the Silk Road in one of the rooms An elderly merchant sits by candlelight, updating his accounts. He writes in neat columns, noting what was paid for goods in one city, what he hopes to receive for them in the next. His fingers are ink-stained. He wears spectacles, a rare and precious item he purchased years ago from a trader who had brought them from even further west. Without them, the numbers would blur together. He has been traveling this route for 40 years. He started as a young man accompanying his father. Now his own son travels with him, learning the trade, building the relationships with other merchants that will sustain him when the old man is gone. The candle burns steadily. Outside, the night continues its slow progression toward dawn. The stars wheel overhead in their ancient patterns. The desert holds its secrets, and the Silk Road, that, quieter for a time. Then new arrivals will appear, dusty and tired, grateful for walls and water and rest. In the corral, the camels sleep standing, their long necks curved. Their bodies are perfectly adapted to this life. They can close their nostrils against blowing sand. Their broad feet distribute weight efficiently over soft ground. They can survive on the sparse vegetation of the desert. They are, in many ways, what makes the Silk Road possible. Without these animals, the distances would be too great, the conditions too harsh, the costs too high. A dog barks somewhere in the Waystation, a brief sound that quickly fades. One of the watchmen makes his rounds, his footsteps crunching softly on the gravel paths between buildings. He carries a lantern that casts a small circle of light. Everything appears in order. The gates are secure. The storage rooms are locked. He completes his circuit and settles back into his post near the main entrance, wrapping his coat more tightly against the chill. In the Buddhist monk's room, a single lamp burns before a small statue. The monk has completed his meditation and now lies on a simple mat, his eyes closed, but perhaps not yet asleep. He thinks of the monastery he left behind, wondering if the plum trees in the courtyard have bloomed yet this year. He thinks of the journey still ahead, the mountains he must cross, the languages he will need to learn enough of to ask for food and shelter. He feels no anxiety about these things. The journey itself is a practice, each day an opportunity to observe the nature of impermanence, of constant change. The weaver's loom stands silent in its workshop. Tomorrow, the young woman will return to it, will continue the pattern she is creating. Thread by thread, the fabric grows. It is slow work, but she is patient. This is not unusual along the Silk Road. Much of what happens here requires patience. The caravan that takes 3 months to reach its destination. The negotiations that take days to resolve. The relationships between merchants that develop over years of repeated interactions. In a dark corner of the courtyard, a cat watches a mouse that is investigating some spilled grain. Near the kitchen building, the cat is perfectly still. The mouse ventures further from the safety of the wall. In a sudden blur of movement, it is over. The cat carries its prize away, disappearing into the shadows. Life continues in its patterns, both large and small, both human and animal, all of it. Hear very little. The fountains trickle, perhaps a snore from one of the communal sleeping rooms. The slight rustle of wind beginning to stir. The eastern sky shows no sign yet of the coming dawn. But it will come, as it always does. The earth turns, the stars fade, light returns, and when it does, the caravan will continue its journey, joining the countless other caravans that have moved along this road, that move along it now in different places, that will move along it tomorrow and in the months and years to come. The Silk Road is not really a single road at all, but a network of routes, a system of connections, a living thing that shifts and adapts while maintaining its essential purpose: to link distant places, to carry goods and ideas, to remind those who travel it that the world is larger than any one city or kingdom, that humanity extends far beyond the horizon